Hello and welcome to The Success Rate. I'm Thuli Magubane. The success rate, our byline says there's no such thing as an overnight success. We talk about people's journeys to success. People always want to know who you are once you've made it to the top, but never the backstory. So today we're going to find out the backstory to an award-winning dancer, choreographer, all-round creative man, Gregory Maqoma. Welcome.
Thank you, Trudy. It's so great to be here.
I'm so glad you're finally here. We're finally having this conversation. So just to maybe kick us off, if there's one meal you could have for the rest of your life, every day, what meal would that be?
Samp.
Samp?
Traditional samp, done in a Xhosa way.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What is the Xhosa way? Imboji?
Imboji, and it's cooked. It has to be prepared overnight.
Uh-huh.
And make sure that it does not have spices, but it's done in a very natural way.
So you don't like the ones abafagama arometi and all kinds of fancy things?
No.
It doesn't hit the spot.
It doesn't hit the spot. I still like it the mother's way.
Yes, yeah. So maybe people may not know this, but you come from a line of royalty. So we should call you Chief.
I think it's been contested.
It's been contested.
And a lot of people say, we must throw away the chief because it was a white man's ideology of just reducing us to not be called kings.
Kings, yes.
Because they had their own king and queen.
I retract my statement, not chief. Nkosi. Nkosi Maqoma. So you come from that lineage, and I suppose you decided that you are going to follow the creative path. And I'm sure you're one of the first in your family to do so.
Yeah.
How were you able to succeed to convince, your parents, your family that you want to be a dancer and this is the route that you want to go?
Yeah, it was not easy at all. I come from a very traditional family, quite conservative, because my parents were really wanting me to be a medical doctor because my grandmother and my grandfather were people who were educated. My grandmother was actually in the health system, and she was a medical doctor, and people thought, no, we will follow that pathway, but it wasn't going to happen. And purely because I was influenced by my own surrounding, I lived quite close to a hostel which housed migrant workers who were coming from different parts of...
And you know what happens in the hostel on Sundays?
Yep. Yeah. Over the weekends, they come together and they compete amongst themselves over a case of beer. Whoever wins will be able to collect that case of beer. And that was my starting point of being hooked into dance, the traditional forms, to say. Yeah. And at home, we had a very small television set, the one that with antennas that you had to adjust to get the signal. And Micheal Jackson appeared. And at that time, in the 80s, it was the first time I'm seeing a black man being portrayed in such a positive manner. And I thought, if this guy can just use his hands and a hand glove to move people to tears, what more I can do if I can use my entire body to portray and tell our own stories.
And obviously, as a youngster, seeing that Micheal Jackson video for the first time, you must have been hooked. Did you learn all the moves?
Oh, every move, I tell you. Even today, I can still do Thriller.
Yes, if we had to put on Thriller, the whole sequence.
Absolutely. And for some reason, I find that I go back into that era, into that time. Every time I create a work, somehow those movements filter into a choreography.
Yes, yeah. And obviously, and it was also movement, but telling a story. It wasn't just dance for the sake of, it's a nice song playing, let me just move my body. There was a story, there was the gangs, there was the whole thing happening.
Yeah.
So I guess, how did that influence you as well in terms of just using movement to tell stories?
Yeah, in the beginning, it was just a euphoria. I was drawn into these intricate bodies of men who were just doing amazing things. And I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And later on, I realized that their dance was also a dance of their own cultures and traditions, and also reflecting on the realities that they were living in.
Yes, yeah.
And those compounds, working in mines, working in factories, digging the ground, for those diamonds that they could never own. And that reality struck me when I realized that I could actually then be I can talk through dance. I can reflect on their suffering and somehow conscientize the world about the ills that were happening in our own.
And then when you were coming up as a young Black man as a dancer, and especially male dancers, it was mainly white males. So how did you encounter that world, and how did you manage to create and make a mark for yourself?
I mean, firstly, I had to convince my own family, that I can do this, and it can.
Especially if they've never seen anyone else do it.
Absolutely. So you had to fight, many obstacles and stereotypes as well, And when I told my father that I want to take dance as a career path, and the first answer was like, you can always dance. We always do that. We always dance. And they didn't see it as a profession. And what I meant is that I want to take dance as a profession. It should be something that I want to do, to turn my life around, and perhaps also to take others with me in doing so. And it comes with a lot of stereotypes. I mean, I remember my first audition when I went to moving into dance. It was in Braamfontein at a studio. And we walked in there. The room was full of white people. And they were wearing tights. I just came in with jeans, in Vanosekas, just coming in there. We're like, oh, what is this now? People are stretching, they're in splits. We're like, no, this is maybe not a place for us. And somehow we stayed and we auditioned and we were accepted. And again, defying those stereotypes that dance is only in that particular form, or you have to look in a particular way in order for you to make it.
And in dance, when you grow up the ranks and then you become lead, it's always, especially in the ballets, it's always Eurocentric ballets and stories. And for you, did you find that easy to relate to and be able to portray those characters? Or did you feel like somehow you're misplaced because you can't really relate to where they're coming from?
Sure. I mean, I was usually misplaced, but also at the same time, there was curiosity of the unknown. So I wanted to learn and to know about this other culture and tradition and forms. And I immersed myself in the classical form, but I also immersed myself in other modern techniques.
Yes, yeah.
Because I was curious. I wanted to know how they do it, how they do this. And it was only later on that I started reflecting back into those days in the 80s, looking at the miners, that I thought that was the goal. For me, if they couldn't own the gold was in their bodies. And I wanted to at least own that gold.
Yes, yeah.
Let it live inside me. And I started making work that was reflecting of those traditions. It's Tatamia being a driving force of my work.
And then you were fortunate enough to get a scholarship to go and study in Belgium. Was that your first kind of trip overseas, or had you traveled overseas before?
I traveled when I was very young, and it hasn't stopped.
Yes, yeah.
I was 18 when I first went to Spain. First time on a flight, and you're taking a 14-hour flight to Spain. And going to Belgium in 1998 on a scholarship was really at a time when I was looking at what is it that I can do better with my life?
Yeah.
Where can this dance take me to? And when I accepted the scholarship, I was supposed to stay there for 3 years. I ended up staying for 1 year. But it was a perfect time for me to look at South Africa from the outside. And to reflect on it and to see how can I be part of the changing political, artistic landscape. And Vuyani Dance Theatre was created based on that. Looking at South Africa from the outside and seeing that there is a missing link here because all the studios, all the training was being done by white people, white Jewish women.
True.
I mean, we value their contribution, but I wanted to change that perception and to create our own home for a Black child to know that they themselves have a place to go to.
And when you're in Belgium, what was the biggest culture shock?
Rain all the time. Rain, the cold. I've never been so cold in my life. It was the first time walking into a place and you literally, the minute you open the door, it's like you can shut it back and stay inside. So that was the first cultural shock.
Yeah.
But also the language.
Were you
Belgium,
in the French side or the Flemish side?
Well, I was in the mixed side. I was in Brussels.
Okay.
Which is a
mix of Flemish and...
It's a city. It's a cultural hub. And you talk to someone, you try your little French that you understand, and they respond to you in Flemish. And you try and speak to someone else in Flemish, and they respond in French. Because every one of them wanted to own also their own language and not to cross-pollarate their languages.
Okay. So now coming to Vuyani, I'm just wondering if you were influenced by Alvin, what's his?
Alvin Ailey.
Yes, Alvin Ailey. Were you influenced by him in terms of starting the company?
Well, I guess there were many other Black artists, particularly in Europe, more in America, that were changing the landscape. And Alvin Ailey being one of them.
Yes.
There was Dance Theatre of Harlem as well, which came to the country much earlier on before Alvin Ailey. And it was seeing our Black dancers performing in that manner. I said, whoa, if they can do this, I'm sure we can do more, And when I got in touch with Alvin Ailey and I got to study Alvin Ailey through my school years, I also was moved by the way of how he wanted to reclaim the culture and to ensure that his company, being a Black company, was also leading in America. And that was really an influence in a sense to how I can shape Vuyani Dance Theatre to be a leading company in the continent.
Not only in the continent, in the world. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what's your definition of success?
I speak success through legacy. It's the things that we leave behind that they can succeed you. And I guess, the body of work that I've put out there is certainly, at that level where I don't have to be there, but the work still shines.
And it speaks for itself.
It speaks for itself. And that for me is success.
Leaving a legacy. I mean, even the name. I mean, it's your name. Maybe people may not know Vuyani is your other name.
It's my other name. It's my clan name.
Yes, yeah. So that's a legacy in itself.
Absolutely. I mean, the beauty about also Vuyani Dance Theatre is that I don't own it. It's for the people and it's owned by the people. I think the custodians are those who walked into that room, into our space. They become the custodians of the legacy. And I guess that's important. That's a beautiful thing for me to know that should anything happen to me or I can make decisions to say I walk away, that the company will stand.
True. And for it to stand, there's a succession.
Yes.
And I suppose you can't have success without succession.
Absolutely.
And so tell us how you've gone about in terms of grooming the next generation of choreographers and dancers who will eventually take over from you.
Sure. I mean, over years, this has been the question, even through our board, there's been that question like, how do we create a succession plan to ensure that, should you decide one day that you don't want to be here, how do we ensure that the company still stays here? But also importantly, how do we ensure that you're not the only person that is driving the organization, but the organization can be driven by multiple people who become then the face of the company. So yes, I needed to ensure that whoever I'm training is also a person who has a clear vision, of where they want to go. And there's been several people who've been on this journey with me.
Yeah.
And some have gone out as well to create their own companies. And some have stayed in order for them to no, we still want to learn more. And also we want to be leaders in this organization. And for me, the lesson is to let go. Is to learn to let go. Is to learn to, when you
maybe you
mentor
should tell that
something-
to African leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's to ensure that once you're saying that you're creating a path for somebody, mean it. You know, it has to be meaningful in so many ways. Create opportunities for that person. Ensure that they take on the leadership while you are there, not when you are gone, so that you can guide them in that leadership space.
And have you had moments where you felt like you don't deserve some of the accolades and the awards that you have won over the years, because you just feel like, but you know, there are others out there. Almost like I know as some of us would suffer from the imposter syndrome from time to time.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people say probably I'm the most awarded, choreographer, dancer in the arts. And every accolade really is testament to the hard work that I've put in. So I don't have any regrets or even doubts to say that perhaps I don't deserve this, because I know that I have put all of my strength, all of my love and into the production. So I believe some of them are late. They could have come in earlier.
Yes.
But I don't live for awards. And then I guess that's why even when they are late, I'm like, it's fine. I continue to do what I have to do. Yeah.
And dance being a very physical, obviously, art form, people tend to focus on the physical. But, we are spiritual beings. There's more to us. How do you take care of your mental wellness, your spiritual wellness in that?
Read. I read a lot. I have created my own library at home in terms of works that speaks to me. I don't only read to be inspired. Sometimes I read just to allow my spirit to be at ease with itself.
Yeah.
I do yoga. I do a lot of meditation. And those are my moments. Those are moments where I become selfish. And because I need those moments for myself in order to be sane again, because I am insane.
Like that.
Things I do when I'm on stage, things I do when I'm in the creative space is completely insane. So I need that same space.
I like that. And collaboration is quite important to you and the company itself. How has collaboration helped you in terms of furthering your career and furthering the business?
Sure.
I know you've collaborated with almost everyone, from musicians to authors to other dancers, in film. So it's a wide array of collaborations that you've had.
It's huge. I think, I don't think I'll be where I am if it wasn't for my collaborative spirit.
Yeah.
I don't think the company will be where it is if I wasn't open to the ideas of collaboration.
Yes, yeah.
It's a sensitive part. Collaborating requires us to be aware of our own egos, but at the same time, to know when those egos are supposed to be left at the door and not to be part of the process. And I think I've mastered that so well that I'm an easy collaborator, but at the same time, I'm very much about protecting the legacy, protecting the space. So whoever I invite into my space to collaborate with, it is people I have huge respect for, but it's also people I'm hugely curious about their artistry. And I look in terms of how is their art going to influence mine and how together can we benefit from that collaboration.
Yes. And you've collaborated with Simphiwe Dana, James Noble quite a lot, especially like in the theater space.
Yeah.
What intrigues you about that?
I guess, their level of artistry.
Yeah.
Their commitment to their craft, their ability to move us in such incredible ways. Working with Simphiwe has been an incredible journey, and we continue to do that. We're starting to tour together with a collaboration of Moya.
Yes, yeah.
And
coming to KZN. So
it's been to KZN.
Okay.
Yes. Now it is going to Europe. And there's so many more of those. I mean, I imagine as well, the biggest collaboration that I've probably have done is with Idris Elba. And it was a collaboration where he himself was like, I want to get back into theater. And how scared he was as well in terms of not knowing whether the work that we were doing was going to be judged according to his success as a filmmaker, his success as an actor.
Because you can't hide in the theater. There's no cut.
You can't hide. It's all in there.
Yes, yeah.
And to walk that journey with him in this piece was incredible to be able to learn together.
I like that. So it's time for our Fire 5 questions.
Yeah.
Which is just fun questions to get to know you a little bit better.
Yes.
Okay, so are you ever going to retire?
I've retired from dancing, but I will never retire from making.
Okay. First memory that comes to mind when you hear the word shoe?
Fits.
Okay, all right. One word to describe your computer ability?
Disaster.
What's your favorite thing in your home?
Wow. My couch.
Your couch?
Yeah.
How many times have you fallen asleep on that couch?
So many times. So many times, whether reading scripts and it's my couch.
Okay. And then if we had to choose Pansulo or Amapiano dance?
Oh, definitely Pansula. Yeah. I'm actually working now with a Pansula group in Katlehong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So. And how do you feel? How do you feel about the rest of the world following South African dance trends?
I think it simply says we are here. We've landed and we actually been here. The world is learning from us.
Cultural. Absolutely. Do you think it's cultural colonization?
No.
We've been colonized by others. So is it our turn now?
No, I think it's more than anything else. It's a cultural evolution, a revolution, basically, because we are taking over. It's Africa's telling the world this is how it's done.
And I suppose social media has had a great impact on that with all the dance challenges. Yeah. Do you keep up with dance challenges?
I can't keep up with dance challenges. There's a new thing every day.
Yeah.
People are creative, man.
Are you on TikTok? Do you?
No, I'm not on TikTok. But now
I wanted to see your TikTok.
No, I'm not on TikTok. I think. Yeah, I get inspired by people on TikTok, but I'm not myself on TikTok.
You're missing out.
I'll consider. Yeah.
Consider that. And so you are at the stage in your career, as you said, you're retiring from dance, and there's been a big celebration around you turning 50. And the company is celebrating that for a whole year.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
So when I turned 50, I looked at two things. I wanted to celebrate it with the people, and children were centered around my celebration. So I've written 3 books to date. So and one of those books was co-written with Dr. Gcina Mhlophe, which is a children's book, The Joy Dancer. We've done a film which will premiere at the Joburg Film Festival. It's also called The Joy Dancer,
which is a documentary about your life.
It's a documentary about my life.
Yes, yeah.
So there's been elements of my life that are celebrated in different forms. So through literature, through movement, and through films. So those are the 3 genres which I felt strongly that we are connected, we are interconnected with them. And also I'm busy at the moment collaborating with Arthur Dlamini, a photographer, and then we're going to do a picture coffee table book.
Do you feel 50?
Not at all. Not at all.
And do people get surprised when you tell them you are 50?
Yeah, still. They're like, we're currently just recently, we're in the US, in LA, just before the fires. We was just so fortunate. And we wanted to go into a club, and they said to me, your ID. I'm like, what do you mean, my ID? They're like, well, here, it's rule. When we suspect that you're younger than what you're saying, then you have to produce an ID. I'm like, okay.
Were they shocked?
They were shocked. Yeah.
I like that. At least you're keeping young. So what is your secret to Fountain of Youth?
Stay active.
Yeah.
Stay active and eat well. Take care of your body. Exercise. Pray. Take those moments to reflect.
Yeah.
To be in the space. Yeah. And the big thing, I think, for me, which has helped me to sustain my 50th, is being able to say no.
How do you say no? Advice? Because some people find it difficult to say no.
I guess, I also speak from a place of privilege where I have so many things that are going at the same time. But I think the best thing for me in saying no is to assess now, like, does this really bring value to me? What is it adding to my life? And if it doesn't add anything to my life, then I'm able to say no without a flinch.
And then over the years, how has your relationship with money evolved?
It's been critical the last 5 years. The last 5 years, money has been critical because I'm thinking retirement. How do I want to retire? The lifestyle that I want to maintain. So saving is a big thing, making sure that I save for tomorrow. Looking at the kind of policies that I have. Do these still serve me? No. Okay, what else? So it's important. It's critical to ensure that we don't become a burden to others.
And there is that stereotype in the arts that people die as paupers. How can we change that?
It starts with us, with artists. We have to create value. And by creating value, it's also ensuring that you secure your future. And that, for me, it's critical and it's important to secure your future because, we know that we are not on a stable ground.
True, yeah.
We're also not on a stable, consistent income.
It's not like on the 25th, you get an SMS.
You don't have a payday.
Yeah.
But that's when it's becoming more and more critical to define between creating wealth and creating richness. And for me, there's a clear definition there. And wealth for me is about sustainability, while sometimes richness is about gloat.
Yeah. And is there anything else that you still haven't done and achieved that you're looking forward to doing in the next 50 years of your life?
I want to win an Oscar. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I want to win an Oscar, and in doing so, I'm preparing myself already because I'm working in films, in television programs. I'm currently on Shaka Ilembe season 2. But also when I go into there, it's not just being a choreographer. I look in terms of like, what is a directorial role looking like? And what skills do I need to acquire for me to be in that position?
And were you involved in the documentary? Or was someone else doing it?
I was hugely involved in the documentary in terms of choosing the direction, in terms of ensuring that we go to the right places, and also influencing in terms of the edit as well. So I was very much involved.
Okay, so the next chapter is Greg in film.
Yeah, Greg in film, but also making still choreographic work. There's new productions that are coming up. So I'm excited.
I like that. Excited. Any parting shots for our audience in terms of success? What words would you like words of wisdom you'd like to live there when it comes to success?
Sure. I think, staying true to who you are, staying true to self is such a critical phenomenon. And not don't live for less. Think if anything else, live for according to the best of your abilities.
I like that. Thank you so much, Greg.
Thank
it was
you.
a pleasure. If you've enjoyed our interview with Greg, make sure that you comment. We would like to hear from you which part resonated with you. And of course, like and share today's episode. Make sure that you tell others about the success rate because we really want to motivate more people.